Hola, Mujerones. Welcome back to the Mujerón podcast. I am Sonia Alejandra Saunders, your host, and this is the Mujerón podcast for the modern Latina who is ready to get out of her own way and build the life she wants. I am super excited because one, it's Thanksgiving week. Two, I'm moving in the middle of all this, and I have family over. And as you know, us Latinas are all about family. Today, I have a very special guest. Her name is Marylin Diaz, and she recently shared a post that really resonated with a lot of our community. And I really wanted to have her on, especially this week, because we're going to be talking about our family, things that our family have given up for us so that we can have a better life, and how we're grateful. I know a lot of you guys are going to be sharing time with your family these days. So I want to make sure that we have and we share space for that. So Marylin, gracias for being here today. I want you to first tell us a little bit more about you before we get into your post, your mission, and all of that. Let's talk a little bit more about what you're up to.
Okay, perfect. Oh my God, I'm so excited to be on here. Happy Thanksgiving week, guys. My name is Marilyn Diaz, and I'm excited. So I have a lot of energy all the time. So I just want to say, what's up, mi gente? So a little bit about myself. First of all, just want to give thank you for creating this platform that you allow us to flourish in different colors that we are, different shapes and everything, but just allow us to be unique together and just allow to fix each other's crowns. So I just wanted to thank you for that, first of all. Okay, so you had said a little bit about me, right? So I am 35 years young. That's what I like to say. I'm aging backwards. I am born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, de padres Latinos. My mom is de Honduras and my dad is from Mexico. I currently reside in Los Angeles, California for the last 5 years. And I've had a untraditional journey these last 7 years because I decided to go into entrepreneurship. And if you know the Latino community, we're like, what? This is so different. Like, how? But we just embrace it. And I love to be able to help other women, especially women of color, because growing up, I didn't have a lot of role models to look up to in my community. So if I can be a voice and somebody could look at me and say, hey, I relate and she did it too, why can't I? I actually am partnered up with a skincare, nutrition, and travel lifestyle club. So I'm able to help people from all walks of life look better, feel good, and experience the world together. But the best part is creating memories with the people that you love.
I love your energy. I feel like I need some of that energy. I love and I really resonate with your content. So you shared recently a quote that I ended up sharing on our page, and it did so well. So many people resonated with it and like commented and stuff. So it said, our families didn't cross oceans and borders so that we could work, pay bills, and die. Our families followed their dreams so that one day we could follow our own dreams. Be brave in the pursuit of your joy and wholeness. Walk through the doors our family held open for us. And that was just such an empowerment post for me, because coming from immigrant parents, and a lot of our audience is first gen Latinas, and they saw firsthand how much their family struggled and gave up coming to the US and building, their own empire so that we can have a better life. What does that post mean to you?
Wow. Like as soon as you read it, I got emotional all over again because I am so, so proud of who I am, where I come from. And it's being first generation, you have mixed feelings because you're like, I want, no soy de aquí, ni soy de allá, right? Like, and especially I'm Hondureña and Mexican. So there's that. And then I'm born in the United States, but I want to embrace my culture, but also we live in this culture. So I that post right there, I was actually crossing the border from San Diego, California to Tijuana. And every single time that I've done that, it's been a few times, I get so emotional because I just feel my ancestors there, being whatever, from Honduras, Guatemala, whatever, they have to pass so many, boundaries and borders. And the obstacles. And it just felt to me growing up, my parents always told me the stories of how they crossed. My dad is from Mexico and he crossed like 5, 6 times, got here, thought he was making a life 3 years, and then immigration came and took him ICE. And it's like rebuilt his life all over again. And those stories are literally tattooed in my head that every time that I had some bad influences. Of course, that we grew up and we had situations that were not ideally to our parents, but in the forefront, I always knew like I have to do better because I know better. My parents did so much for me to sacrifice everything. And then I complain about simple things. I'm like, get it together. Like I had to self talk myself so many times and say, I have to respect their journey. So I need to make sure that I give them the orgullo to be like, wow, like it was worth it that I left all my family. I literally had to come and learn a new language and learn brand new things, be, humiliated, being, looked down, being scared to even go out to drive, to go to a store, and for me to be like, yo, I don't care what you did. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And I'm going to, be in jail and do all these things. So that always was embedded in my head that my parents always told me, look at the sacrifices I did for you. So I needed to make sure that I did them proud because it was a conversation that we had all the time. So when I did that post, it was like, wow, sometimes we get stuck in that cycle that you work 9 to 5, even if we are first generation, but we don't pursue the dreams. Like, yo, this is America. Like so many people are dying on the border, coming for that American dream, for us to really be uncomfortable. I've done so many things in my life that scare the out of me, but I said, you know what? If I don't do this now, then when? I will grow my wings along the way, but it has to happen because I am not going to live that same life, 9 to 5 every single day, be miserable, die, and then show my children the same exact thing. So what was the point? We just changed zip codes from what my parents decided to do to come here to do the same exact thing. Like, no, we need to be bold. We need to find our joy and we need to bring others with us so that we can all become the better version of what our ancestors did so much for us.
Wow. Yes, yes, yes to all of that. I think that it truly has been humbling, right? And I challenge you, if you haven't been to where your parents are from, or maybe, your parents didn't take you when you were young or whatever, I challenge you to go visit those cities and those towns and those pueblitos because it truly is humbling to see like damn, they put up with some stuff, and you understand their story, you understand their struggle. You almost understand like why self-care and all of those things are not a priority for them
Mm-hmm.
because that stuff was like the last thing on their mind. And I think that for me that has truly been something that as you grow up, you start realizing, right? And you're a lot more grateful for what your parents gave up in order to give you a better life. And it's not to say that because they did that, you owe them anything. But I think as you grow up and as you take on adulthood yourself, you understand like, damn, that must have been tough for them. For me, recently, an experience that truly just put everything into perspective was giving birth. Giving birth in this amazing suite, beautiful
Ooh.
hospital with like the view to Michigan Lake, Lake Michigan, and then just having, everything lo que necesitaba. Here you go. I asked for my cold apple juice and all that stuff. And then I thought, like, damn, how did my mom do this? In El Seguro, back in her town, and laboring with all these other women who she was not even the priority there. And it just really puts things into perspective like, damn, she did all of that. Like, she had to go through all of that so that I can be here
Mm-hmm.
in this comfortable space, with me being the priority for these people and my son being the priority. And I just felt like it was such a beautiful way to reflect on it and just be so grateful for what they gave up to give us this experience, and I love that you say every time you cross, like you think about that because for us it's so easy to just come here and go there and and for them it was like how many of our parents once they crossed, they never went back. Like, could you imagine not being able to go see your
Oh,
family? That just breaks my heart. My dad, when his father passed, he had to FaceTime me because he couldn't say goodbye to his dad. And I know that has happened to many of our parents.
mhm,
So
mhm.
I feel like so many of us resonate with your post and your story because we are living through it too, you know? And I want to know a little bit more about like during these times of holidays and when we get together and now that you're far away from your family, how do you continue to stay connected and continue to let them know how grateful you are?
Okay, that's a big one because it was interesting when I moved 5 years ago over here because it really, especially you guys know, being Latina and being connected to your family is like, that's it. Like you go every Sunday, you do everything together. So even if I'm 35, it's still like I'm still the baby, you know, and they're always like checking up. So the way I stay connected is I talk to my parents at least every other day. I text my mom every single day. My parents are 71, so God bless them that they were open to learn technology because that's another chapter that we could talk
I
about.
know.
But we definitely video chat a lot, and I include my parents in every little thing. Like, hey, look, I'm cooking this. You know, mom, ¿qué es la receta? You know, ¿qué es lo que hacemos aquí? You know, so I always am like, if they're just a couple blocks away, I try to do my best to include them in every small detail of everything, even if it's like, hey, look, I just bought this new book, mom. Like, check this out. You know, ¿cuál libro te ordeno in Amazon para que te llegue a ti también? You know, and teaching her self care. The most amazing thing is teaching them new things because sometimes they're so old school that they're like, well, I can't learn anything, you know. So everything that I'm learning through my journey of self care, self love, and mental health, I'm teaching them along the way and just finding resources for them in Spanish so that they can learn too. So throughout this week, you know, they're gonna go with my sisters in Chicago, you know, have Thanksgiving. I'm gonna be here. I actually have a couple friends that also their parents and families are not in LA. They're from different places, so we're gonna just kind of hang out here at my house. And I am gonna make Latina food, Latino food. And another thing is that I'm vegan, so that's like another journey. So
Wow.
there's not gonna be any turkey. There's gonna be and none of my friends that are coming are Latinas. So I was just like, well, this is gonna be my tradition because growing up, we did have a turkey because my brother-in-law is American, but we are Latinos. So my mom would always do arroz con gandules, my tamales. My mom is Hondureña, so we would do pastelitos hondureños, which is kind of like empanadas. So that's what I'm doing here to, you know, stay rooted in my traditions, you know. So I told my friends, like, hey, we can have pumpkin pie, but we're gonna do ensalada de papa, we're gonna do
Yeah.
pastelitos hondureños, we're gonna do tamales, and we're gonna do arroz con gandules, but everything's gonna be vegan. But I just need to stay true to my traditions and who I am and just teach them like, hey, you know what, this is what our traditions are. And, you know, maybe we'll have mac and cheese, but growing up, we really didn't have that. We always had, you know, the big elaborate Latino tradition food.
Yes, I so resonate with that because I married my husband, he's African American and Puerto Rican, but he was raised very African American. So he's like more black than
Okay,
anything else.
so big spread, the yams, the
Yes.
greens, and everything.
I recently just moved to Milwaukee, so I'm right down the street from Chicago and your family, and my parents are in Arizona.
Okay,
So
close to
this,
me.
yeah, that's so crazy. And this year, my in-laws came to town, so
Okay.
we're having like that whole traditional Thanksgiving that they have. But now you're like you talking about you making stuff. I'm like, maybe I should incorporate some of our stuff. It's kind of hard here in Milwaukee to find like some of the Mexican stuff. I know Chicago, there's like a bigger Mexican community.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we do though that I really do want to encourage my family now to do is we would go around the table once we all have our food and like just go around and say, what are you thankful for that, happened this year? And I know a lot of Latinos do that. It's like not just
Yes, we did too.
yeah, not just eating this meal, but like let's go around and hear what everyone was thankful for. And I think it has probably been like the only time that I've seen family members like really almost break down sometimes because, not all years are great years. But I think
Correct.
it's also like that moment of like, hey, we're here for each other no matter what happens or no matter what we've been through. We're here for each other. We're sharing this meal. What are some other of the traditions that your parents did?
I remember that we would do loteria a lot. We would play loteria. And everybody would be like in pajamas, hanging out. So it wasn't like we were dressed up because I come from a smaller family. It's my mom, myself, and I have two older sisters. I'm the baby in the family. And then they have their, partners and stuff. So sometimes it would just be us three, my mom, my dad, and me. And then sometimes we would go over to them. So our traditions were a little bit smaller, but we always, always, always prayed right before we ate. And then we went around the table and said, what are some of the things that God brought you out of this year? And that's when we really, because as Latinos, especially older generation Latinos, the wall is so thick to let emotions down. So to really be like, it's okay to be vulnerable and just let yourself open up and say, yes, this is what happened to me, because there might be somebody else on that table that feels like, wow, they let their guard down. I can too, and we can heal together, because through our generation and through our upbringing, healing is something that we don't touch base a lot on. And it's very kind of like founded on therapy and like talking your problems with other people. I remember like, lo que pasa en la casa se queda en la casa. Like, you don't talk to anybody. And I'm just like, but there's a lot of emotions going on here.
Yes, definitely. I think that's something that as we grow older and we kind of share these ideas with our parents, it kind of opens their eyes a little bit. Even though
Yes.
there's times where like I've taken coaching programs and stuff and I've opened up to people, about like issues that I'm going through. And there have been so many times where I'm sitting there and I'm like, if my mom heard me sharing these things, she would die.
She would be like, I cannot believe you're doing this to me. And it happened 30 years ago.
Yes, it's so crazy, but it's true. I think healing and therapy and all of that is not something that we're so open to talk about in our communities. But I think if anything, this specific day and Christmas obviously really open us up to have a little bit more of a deeper connection and deeper conversations with our elders that you were saying. Um,
Exactly.
so for the last thing that we're going to chat about today, because I know you guys are all busy getting all your stuff ready, um, tell us a little bit about after you do your traditions and stuff with your family. What is something that you feel that you're going to take on with when with your own things when you do your own Thanksgiving?
I definitely want to make sure that no matter the years, that I always incorporate the games that we always play as families together. The prayers, I'm really rooted in my faith. So to always make sure that I include that tradition in, to make sure that no matter where I go, if I'm doing the meal or if I'm going to somebody else to do a Thanksgiving, to make sure to bring my my Latino food, because it is who I am. You every time you see me, I'm Latina, and I just want to portray that I'm proud of who I am. So I want to make sure that the traditions stay on, and be able to just have a space of openness to like whatever happened throughout the year with whoever, to allow yourself to just let that go and just heal, so that you can start the brand new year with a brand new, slate. Because, there's so much to be grateful. Like when you look at yourself 365 days ago, you're like, wow. Like I was journaling this morning, and I was like, wow, I might not be where I am, where I want to be, but wow, the
So
hands of God are definitely in my life and what He's brought me through. So we can never forget that. And that's one of the traditions, to always remember where you came from, who you are, and to always be proud of the journey. No matter what the obstacles are. Be proud because you are definitely in a better place than you were last year.
Yeah, most definitely. I feel like that just puts a lot into perspective and it really allows you to say, like, there's so much for me to be grateful for. A year ago today, I had no idea I was going to be a mom. So
And
that
look,
in itself,
wow. So you see now when you carry your baby and you're like, wow, like
yeah.
the beauty of magic and what, the plans are that we don't know.
Yes, that's amazing. I love that. And I think for me, taking on traditions, and one of the things that now as I'm talking, I'm thinking about, so my husband, his grandma, she cooks like she was a chef and she was like a caterer. So she cooks very good soul food. And she
Okay.
taught me how to do stuffing a different way than my mom did. Because
Okay.
obviously Latinos like stuffing, that's not something we master, right?
Talking, yeah, whatever.
So, but it's crazy because there's certain things that I liked of my mom's stuffing that I like merged into his grandma. So now like this is like a
It's a
whole
whole
different
new tradition.
yeah, so it's kind of cool to kind of also merge those things like you said, adopting, the traditions of where you grew up and where essentially you're from, but
Mm.
also bringing your culture and your people and like what you did with your family. So it's just a beautiful thing. I think being first gen, there's so many beautiful parts to it. It's a difficult thing, and I think as we grow older and as we start connecting, especially through social media, we start to see how many things were difficult growing up, not feeling identified as completely Latina, not feeling identified as completely American. But I think that we've been able to create this community and
Hmm.
connect ourselves. So I just wanted to we wanted to share that with you guys today, our traditions and how we're grateful for our family. I hope that you guys can comment on our posts. What is something that you do? What are some of the traditions? Marylin, gracias for being here today. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you for uplifting us and all of the content that you put out there. As a creator, I know how difficult it is to even create a reel.
Oh
So I
Jesus.
want to
And I'm 35, so I'm trying to learn all these things. And I'm like, what is this? I need an assistant.
we feel identified. So trust me, we all feel the same. And
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for the effort and just inspiring us with the content. So if we want to follow you, where should we follow you?
Okay, perfect. So I want to say thank you so much also for creating this, for allowing us Latinas to have a safe place to flourish and not be judged. Because one of the things too that it keeps on coming over is as a first gen, some of us, depending on how our family grew up, embrace the culture with this new culture, and some of them just kind of eliminate it and just want to amplify this new culture. Because I've had cousins of mine that they don't speak Spanish and they're first generation. So, not to judge anybody, everybody comes
Yeah.
in different walks of life, but thank you so much for this space. I mean, it is incredible. So where you guys could follow me on is Instagram. I'm making sure that my handle, it's Marilyn, Marilyn Diaz, Diaz _.
Perfect. And I'll make sure to put it all on the show notes so that they can click on your page.
Okay,
Again, thank
perfect.
you so much for
Thank you. This is so much fun. I can't wait to head down to Chicago and we definitely meet up
yes,
somewhere and then we'll
please.
have some cafecito.
Yes, please let me know when you're out here. I love visiting Chicago. I go like every other month just because I feel like there's a lot way better Mexican food, one.
Yeah.
And obviously the city, it's always nice to go and visit. So thank you again. I hope you have a wonderful week, a wonderful Thanksgiving. And I'm grateful for you for being in this community and sharing space with me today and sharing your story.
Thank you so much. I hope you have a blessed week with new traditions, old traditions, and inspiring your little ones to just follow your footsteps of greatness. Take care so much. I hope you have a blessed week.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies, so much for tuning in today to the Mujerón podcast. We are so grateful for you for continuing to support our dreams, continuing to stay connected with us, identified with us, and just all of your support. We hope that you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, and we will talk to you guys next week.